So hello and welcome to the 39th episode of the Undermind, and this is an exclusive episode with Yegers. Can I say your real name?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, Jasper Geurtz, aka Yegers, and the occasion is he is actually crashing at my place in Munich, so we decided that this is a good time as any to do this. So yeah, how are you? What are you up to in Munich?
Hi, I'm good. Currently, I'm in Munich to visit the university there. I want to do my master's in Munich. So, yeah, I went to check it out and ask some questions there for how the application works for master students, etc. And Sonko was so nice to let me stay at his place. It was nice to offer it.
Yeah, it's nothing. And let's start with all the news we have. It's considerably less than last time, but nonetheless important. So I think one of the things is AIST participation is closed, and I don't know if Antigua actually ran the games yet, but he will soon. I think 7 or 8 bots participated, but not that much, not that many bots, right?
Eight bots, yeah.
8 bots, yeah. It should be interesting, and especially should be interesting when Antigua plays the final bot. So yeah, he said he'd start March 10 or so. So let's wait for that. We also have the SCHNAIL finals, and many of you know this, but we actually recorded the finals already with Nightcat, so we know everything. So if you're a bad boy, I will just spoiler it. And yeah, it took 6 hours for us, and I think both of us thinks that we will never do this again. I mean, recording for 6 hours straight. But the finals, the next part or the second part, I don't know how many parts it will be cut into. I think it's just 2 parts, and the rest of it will be cast tomorrow. And yeah, you will see who's the winner. Any comments on that?
No, I'm tuning in tomorrow. Hopefully, actually, I probably can't, but I'll check it out later. I have no predictions on who's going to win. I don't know.
Okay, next piece of news is we have some new bots, and that's very good. I happen to know that they are from students from the University of Bratislava, if I'm not mistaken. But Misha Chertichki said that he actually, I think he said there are 3 students who are interested in this. So maybe there is a third bot who will appear soon. That is very good. This is how the scene grows, one student at a time. Although I think I'd wager that maybe the non-students bots are outnumbering the student bots by now, but I really don't know.
I think with DTD bot, the new one, I'm not sure if it's from one of those guys as well. That would be the third bot of those.
Yeah, that's certainly possible. Certainly the more competitive and the top of the ladder bots are not all they are mostly not student bots, and well, that's just understandable. So yeah, that's another piece of news. I hope they find their place in bot development, and I'm really hoping they are listening to this podcast at some point in time. And yep, that's it. I think that's about all I can say about SSCIT. Yeah, there was another bot who dominated the statistics in crashes. It's called Kangaroo Bot, and yeah, that is a very important piece of information. I heard if it even uses switch statements instead of a lot of if statements in some of the cases. I can't confirm or deny these rumors though. Other news is I'm pretty much all the time into SCHNAIL development, so I can talk about that a little bit. And we had some streams last week. One was by nice username again, and I think many of you watched that. I think it went very well. I always like, we all love Joey, and that is must be said. Joey is cool person, and we enjoyed the stream. And actually, one of the guys who were watching, it's called a streamer called 80s Mullet, cool name, I know, and he was interested, and we set it up to for him to stream, and the next day that happened, and his reaction was awesome. He said this is awesome. So that is some good news, and I hope that will be the reaction of many people who are trying out and will try out SCHNAIL in the near future. And with that, I think I will talk about the latest improvements and what I'm working on, or what we are working on, because the project it's not a one-person project. I have to give credit to all of the contributors who are contributing, and many of the members of the community have great advice and observations, which I value a lot. So basically I was working on the website, and the bot upload, deletion and modification works on the website, at least as far as I noticed. It works reasonably well. It's very much a function over form. At the present moment I want it to be working, then we can make it pretty later. Basically there are a few points that needed to be done before we can move into open beta, and one of these was a functioning website, and that's kind of done, but there are some functions like administrative functions handling your account and such that needs to be implemented. Here no technical challenges are present. We just need to do it. This is just a matter of development time. That was true for the bot upload stuff as well. The second one is a much requested feature actually. Almost every gamer I encountered asked if there are custom hotkeys in the platform. So I decided that is a requirement for open beta, and yeah, we are working on that too. And when it's done, it will be a great addition, because at that point the user experience is almost the same as you have in remastered, except the graphics. And I'm sure that in remastered there are a lot of convenience features which we will not have, but that's perfectly fine, because it is aimed at a different type of play. And other than that, only other requirement is news, events and updates, handling thereof, some visual components and some update handling. Again, no real technical challenges. Currently I'm working on the bot evaluation. The way it works, if you upload a bot, and every bot has a set of maps enabled. You might have seen in the launcher that if you click a bot, map list will change, and every map that is enabled for a bot, there will be a game played on that map, and using SC Docker, and the bot will be evaluated. The bot will placed in a game against a very basic bot, like example bot who only does mining or something, and it has to win that game. It's not a really hard requirement, and it has to win that game, and it has to not crash. These are the requirements. So it's pretty basic at this point, and I don't really want to have a high bar for this. And actually before the stream we were talking a little about bot ratings and bot leaks, so we can just refresh this discussion if you want to.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Well, it's better if you ask me literally the same questions as you did.
Yeah. So my first question was like how you envisioned to have a bot versus human elo rating or whatever, if you think that, if you know that, for example, you can abuse a one-trick pony bot if you know how to play against it, and then you can artificially inflate your rating or something like that.
Yeah, so basically, I think I've wrote this and maybe talked about this a little bit previously, but it's a little bit more clear now. There will be a seeded rating for every bot, like the starting rate. I think it's 1500 for elo rating, but whatever, just some arbitrary number. And there will be matchmaking between bots and humans. If you play a ranked game, you can't pick your opponent. One will be assigned to you. So that mitigates the seal clubbing effect somewhat. And there will be not divisions but classifications of bots, like student bot, competitive bot, etc. I didn't think the exact classifications through yet. And moreover, the scores are, of course, you need to seed the human opponent's scores as well, but those scores will not be displayed for humans. That will be a hidden value. You will have an ELO as a human, but you can't ask that, because that's not the point. I don't want people to try to game the system. And of course, there will be a practice or normal mode where you can just try out all the opponents. So you can still try out every bot and find their weaknesses and then beat them, but it's a considerably more effort than just doing that in the first place.
Okay, cool. Okay, nice. Yeah. And I actually had another question. What would you think about something like people leaving not reviews, but like maybe 1 or 5 stars on how enjoyable or nice it was to play against a bot, something like user reviews? Have you thought of something like that? I don't know how good it is as an idea, but might be worth discussing.
I haven't, but it's an interesting topic to discuss. Right off the bat, I would say that this is not doesn't seem constructive. As imagine if you're playing a human, you can't play the review that sorry, Death Killer 12 and you were just 2 of 5 stars. It's but I know bots are different, and maybe the goal of them is to provide an enjoyable experience. So the whole idea has some merit. But what would be the end purpose of the bot ratings?
Well, that people maybe can, if they not for a ranked play, but for if somebody starts out with SCHNAIL and directly gets recommended 4 or 5 bots that are like 5-star that everybody enjoys playing against, and doesn't have to play against a cannon cheeser the first time they play against a bot, something like that. I haven't thought it through, but it just popped in my mind. Something like providing beginners with some good bots crowdfunded by the community of what gamers like to play against, what they find fun.
Maybe we could have a fun rating or something, but I don't want to evaluate the quality of bots this way, because that's a very, very subjective thing. And if a bot beats you, you might give it 1 star out of spot.
Yeah, of course, makes sense. Yeah, I was just thinking of it, so worth thinking about, I think.
Absolutely.
Just discussing.
Absolutely. I would maybe rate was it fun to play or not, and that has some merit, and maybe in a way that you it is kind of optional, or maybe a window pops up that how enjoyable was this game, but not every time, like just random intervals or something.
Yeah, because I'm wondering right now the bots are ordered alphabetically in SCHNAIL, but I'm just wondering if that's when you select what to play against, but then you might play against the first bot in the list, and then if it's not that fun or not that challenging, maybe it's like some initial fun bots for people who start out or something like that. Yeah, that was the main idea behind having some sort of stars, or but maybe it adds a dimension that it's not really required for this application.
I will certainly think about that, but I think just the competitive score of the bot is a bigger draw because it's some measure of how good a player you are, and that's some kind of an intended purpose of this, because it's a consensus that these bots are around sea level or 1750 mmR rating. That's the top bots. That means that potentially some of these bots can be used as an evaluation or a benchmark. And I would love to see that. Okay, you can join our clan or guild or something in StarCraft if you beat the top bot on SCHNAIL. And I think that's not an unreasonable demand, or not demand, but an unreasonable goal to have in near future.
Interesting.
So it's like using these bots as a skill test and a skilled practice partner.
Still, I think rating or just evaluating bots is going to be a challenging task. Like it's not gonna be easy, I think, personally.
There are pitfalls, yeah, and we have to think about how people will try to cheat the system, because it is my belief that as soon as you put a number in front of people, they will try to make that number bigger in any means possible.
Yep.
All right, that's enough of SCHNAIL for the time being. I think I spoke about everything I wanted to convey right at this point, and let's get into the main topic, which is basically since you are here, let's have a exclusive interview just here, just now. So let's start at the beginning. When did you come up on this scene, and how did you get into this rabbit hole in the first place?
Okay, so I never played StarCraft before I actually came into the scene. So this, that's how it is. But I got introduced to StarCraft AI at my university, where we had a course where we had to use a special language, like an academic language, to write our own bots. It was basically for a course. And that's how somehow I ended up on the stream, because it got recommended by our professor. I still remember that I asked for advice on how to build, how to beat the stock AI, and I think it was Dan that answered, like with some Protoss build. I don't exactly remember what it was, and we ended up using that to beat the built-in AI, because actually the Protoss built-in AI is actually quite strong. It's quite hard to beat for like beginners who don't know that much about StarCraft. And basically, somehow I ended up on the Discord. I don't know. Yeah, for me, I know there was an IRC before, but I never joined that. I mainly talked on the Twitch channel, I think. That's how I started out with getting to know the people there. And then the Discord came, and I was there. And right now, mainly I work on the JBW API, which is a Java API, because there were some complaints about the previous API. Or some complaints. It worked, and it was fine, but it was slow, and there were some issues. And that's what I currently do. I don't know if the bot is still active, probably not, but you can still find A Lamau. That's the bot we built for our course. It was active a little while on the SSC AIT tournament, but it was pretty bad, because I had no idea what I was doing. Like I didn't know StarCraft meta, etc. We basically built a Protoss bot, and we made Dark Templars, so that was kind of cool. That's it.
A little bit of things I remember that in the last pylon show that there was a little bit of clip when the SSCIT current results were read out, and the host Arthos is just said, "Oh, all the bots are Protoss size C." This just proves that what I thought, or something like that.
Yeah. It absolutely, yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, we also had a Protoss versus Protoss finals because all our bots at the course, university course, were we had to play against each other, so we were in groups of 6, and unfortunately they stopped the course. That's it sucks, but oh well. I got to enjoy it, so that's fun. But yeah, it was a Protoss versus Protoss finals. So yeah, maybe Protoss is a bit easier. Who knows?
Maybe you can do something in Munich to that effect.
Yeah, for my masters. Who knows? Who knows? I'll see.
I think it's because that Protoss units benefit from good micro in a larger degree than other races units, especially goons. And so you need to have a relatively small set of functions that are working very well to write a good Protoss bot. Again, this is just my opinion, and maybe that's like Protoss has stronger, more elite and more expensive units, and they benefit from proper micro a lot, and that's why maybe it's easier to make a competitive Protoss bot. But yeah, and just pure gateway army is something that is strong enough.
Yeah.
But then again, that does not necessarily mean that Protoss is the strongest race, since I think we have Crazy on top of the ladder right now. So
On Basil, you mean? Yeah.
I don't know. Let me check the SCIT ladder actually.
Yeah. Well, it uses. I
Yeah.
think it uses the Basil. Basil rankings, but yeah.
Well, anyway, it's not. I think there is a little bit of Protoss dominance if you use a weighted score, aggregate, whatever statistics thing, but not. I don't believe that Protoss is just the strongest race in botland.
Yeah, and I'm not allowed to have an opinion on this because I know basically nothing about the meta game.
Everyone is allowed to have
Yeah, but it will probably be stupid.
It's just not opinion. Not all opinions are equal.
Yes, my what I can play in StarCraft is 4-pool and 9-10 double gateway, and then just A move the units to the opponent's base. That's my StarCraft knowledge, like what I can play.
Oh yeah, and yeah. So that was your first bot, and you mentioned that you are planning to make a new one.
Yeah. So I've tried to start up my bot. Just try to start making my own bot. Sometimes I just started, but then I don't know. I lost interest, or it's really you need to really go for it to make it. It takes a lot of time, etc. So I really respect all the bot authors that have gone through it because I really want to start from scratch to really understand everything that I wrote. Plus, I want to write it in Java or a JVM language, so there's not that many points I could start out from. I'm already hearing Dan write down you can fork Purple Wave, which I've done, but it was mostly for testing out JBW API. And I mean, to his credit, the bot is really well structured and it was easy for me to find. I really recommend people who want to write their bot in Scala to have a look at, or not even in Scala, but just to look at his source code because it's really quite impressive.
Scale of 1 to 10, how many good boy points this bot deserves?
Yeah, I think like Dan said, Scala developers would probably not like it, okay, but for any developer, it's really, really, really good as a starting place. So I would give it 10 out of 10 good boy points.
I expected at least 11.
Ah.
So But speaking of Java and GBW API, that's I think this is it's the go-to library at this point and superseded BW Mirror.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. So, for anybody who does not know, I currently maintain it. Bytekeeper helps me with that, but I currently maintain it and fix it. And yeah, it's a Java API for BW API, and yeah, it's faster. It doesn't have the bugs that BW Mirror had. It has some small bots because it's a full re-implementation, but it's mostly correct right now, as proven by well, the bots that use it on the ladder right now. Recently, Dan, so Purple Wave got transferred to uh, JBW API, and it seems to run quite well. He also found some small bugs or inconsistencies, which he made pull requests for, and they got fixed really quickly. So that's promising, and not that many bugs are being found. I think just today, Impi found something new, but that's a bug in clients. So for client bots, because currently the players race it's unknown. So if you play against random, the server doesn't update the race when you detect units from them, which it should, which the DLLs do. So that should be fixed, but server side, I can't do anything about that. Okay, but that's a bug or like a very specific thing. It just reminded me of it because Impi sent something about it today. Yeah, and for the rest, I hope everyone who starts out to check it out, because well, I'm kind of yeah, I'm hoping it's a good foundation. And people were always complaining about Java bots being slower, etc. But in practice, they don't have to be, and there's not the bindings are as fast as the C++ client. I dare to say that on live, that it's just as fast, or at least not considerably slower. Like BW Mirror could be, I think, almost 5 to 10 times slower. In practice, I actually did some measurements, etc. And JBW API is as fast or almost as fast, especially when the JVM is warmed up. Yep. So that's a bit about JW API. Do you have any questions about it, or
Well, I would recommend it as well. I saw it, and you wrote a nice tutorial, and I think that's important. I often find that tutorials are like a page of obscure comments that you have to copy paste, and most of the time they don't work, and that's it. But yeah, the tutorial was well structured, and I actually made a video based on that, if you remember that.
Yeah, I remember you asked if you could make
Yeah.
a video about it, and yeah, of course. I mean, I'm planning on continuing on the tutorial, but it takes quite some time, and I'm still thinking about how do I want to make the tutorial, because I don't plan on writing a whole bot just for a tutorial. I'm just thinking about then really making code snippets for certain features, yes, and then I don't know. That's a plan for the future. When I have free time, I write it, but it's quite hard to write articles. It's well, I mean, you write articles, so you know how it is. But then you write stuff, you reread it, and you're like, well, I mean, in my head it made sense, but when I read it, like reread it, is kind of weird. Or at least for me, it's like this. Then when I reread it, I don't really understand what I wrote.
More like writing 1,000 words than reading them back and saying, why was I even born?
Yeah, exactly.
So it takes some practice, but even a bad guide is better than none. I mean, not a bad guide, but incomplete guide is better than none. And some API documentation, even just a basic thing, would go a long way.
Yeah. other people will be thankful to you in the future,
Absolutely.
even if there's something. Yep. And I recently wrote a small guide on how to set up JBW API on Linux or Mac OS, so you can just run it in there without needing Windows at all. You can just run and develop your bot without needing Windows. You just use Wine, and it works quite well. I'm impressed, and I think that's also maybe one of the selling points of using Java or a JVM language, that you have binaries that work on every platform, or you can build them on Linux and then run via Wine. You can then inject them in or run them in StarCraft, not inject. And I think if you want to really write your bot and don't want to use Windows, actually I think it's easier to use Java in this case, because it's actually doable, and C++ makes this a lot harder. To run, it's exactly the same. You just use Wine to run it, but to build is much harder to get all this working, because you don't have Visual Studio on Mac OS or Linux, I don't know, Ubuntu, something like that. You don't have it, so you can't really build your bot. Yeah, it's not that cross-platform.
I think it's important to widen access to developers, and that is a good step towards that. And in the long term, I would like to see more support added for more and more programming languages. Python is an obvious example, and I know there are attempts at that, but I haven't really heard of many Python bots just yet.
Yeah. You can use Python. I think there's PyBrud, which works okay. I've used that was like the first language I tried to write a bot in, but I gave up quickly because I don't know, writing a big project in Python is, well, in my opinion, not a good idea. But let's not start on language stuff. I love Python, but writing a full bot in it, to me, it sounds like not the best idea. But if you want to use it for like machine learning scripts, etc., which you want to then add to your bot, which I think, what's the bot called again? City University. Well, Dan probably knows which one I mean. He tries to use Python together with his bot to run some Python scripts from his students.
CUNYbot.
Yeah, CUNYbot. There you have it. So there's some attempts as well. Also, Facebook's I want to say PyTorch, but it's Torchcraft AI. I think that's the name of the library. Also supports Python and Lua and stuff like that. So Torchcraft AI, Torchcraft. So you can run Python that way. But I don't know how easy it is, because I don't think there's any Python bots written or using that, at least not publicly. So that's one way you could do it. Well, if GraalVM becomes an actual thing and becomes usable by people could just use the Java bindings, JBW API, to run their Python or Ruby or other languages, because that would be one uniform platform where you can use the Java classes and binaries, etc., and then just use them in Python, which would be kind of cool. I don't envision this to be ready any time in the future, but it could potentially be possible for sure.
Many people are selecting projects based on their programming language knowledge, and it's more like, oh, this is a cool project, what language and do I need to learn for that? That's the minority. It's more like, oh, what are the cool projects that I can get into with my current knowledge of programming language or languages. And we can't really change that approach of people. So if we want more people to be interested in bot development, then we have to accommodate more and more programming languages. because that's just how the world works. But then again, it's a little bit of a chicken and egg problem, because you kind of have to have someone from that community making the first step and making the proper architecture or libraries or whatever for you to be able to code in that language.
Yeah, I agree with what you say. Yeah, I don't know if there's a solution. The problem is also that officially SSC AIT doesn't support Python, so you can't run a Python script. You have to freeze your own, or like bundle your own interpreter with it to actually run your Python, which is all doable, but it's all a small hurdle to run it there. So yeah, more languages should be available, but it's also, yeah, how, if only two people are going to use it, well then, is it really worth it to make a library for those two people? That's like you said, the chicken and egg problem. Like, and as long as nobody makes the library, then well, nobody's going to use it. So I agree with what you say. That is, but I don't have a solution for that. My hope is that maybe GraalVM could be an option, that you could run multiple languages on the thing, but that's not for the near future. That's
Yeah,
for
but
sure.
GVM based languages have an advantage already, so that's a good thing.
For sure.
And yeah, tournaments need to accommodate this as well, and eventually SCHNAIL as well, because yeah, I want, and I think I will push for that on SCHNAIL a little bit, but I haven't got to that point yet, and I haven't done the research required to actually do anything meaningful.
Mm.
All right, then let's get back to the interview part of the cast. So that's how you started out, and then GBW API was your project. And what would you say? How complete is that project, or how much work do you think it's left here, disregarding maintenance and bug fixing?
Disregarding maintenance and bug fixes, I think it's done. I mean, it's fully functional. It has exactly the same API as BW. Exactly, it has 99% of the BW mirror API, but 100% of the BW API compatibility. So it's as if you're writing a C++ but then everything the Java way. And I left out some BW mirror oddities or things they were that, because it was basically auto-generated. It was parsed from C++ sources, all done automatically, and then, well, Java doesn't do some stuff exactly the same as C++. They're similar in like on a higher level, but when you go down, then it becomes a bit different. So there were some strange things, which I made it so it's exactly how a Java library should be, in my opinion. Then, but I think it's pretty clean and it works. We even have our own continuous integration, which ByteKeeper set up, so we always know when there's something going wrong. Yeah, I think it's pretty much done. Like I said, I'll be supporting it for the coming future because, well, it's a personal project. And yeah, I also have to give credit to NewbieEdge, because he had the main idea to start. Why not just read everything that the BW API server set up instead of reading it from the client, etc. So yeah, it was a smart idea, and then I just continued working on it and making it available to bot authors. So yeah.
Thank you for that. And then documentation and maybe tutorials can be the next step.
Yeah, so documentation right now is all there. It's all parsed from C++ documentation. I then manually, or well, with some scripts, formatted everything so it's like Java doc instead of whatever C++ uses, Oxygen, I don't know, something like that. So some manual labor, but all the documentation is there. So what I especially like right now is that you can just click on the method and see how it's implemented under the hood, and you just read the Java doc. It's all there. So I think it's much friendlier also for beginners. And yeah, tutorials. Yeah, I'm working on that, but yeah, I'm not really good with writing stuff, so it's slow, and I also have to find out how I want to explain to new people. And by the way, I'm open to people wanting to write that. Like, I'll do this as a, I don't know how you call it, but to people listening, if you feel like you want to write a tutorial part or help in that way, feel free. And I really recommend doing it because you'll help me a lot. And new people who want to start out and don't know how to do things a lot, and I'll just do it there. And I can put it there, and then it's in one place. But then for Java.
I can sympathize. I always love free labor from other people as well.
Well, I tried to say it with a bit of a euphemism, but yeah, basically that.
Yeah. So regarding, so that's a good summary of GPW API. I use it myself, and it's a good tool. And I think let's talk about how you how open. Now that sounds like a stupid question, but how open about you about your participation in this scene? Do you talk to people or present something to people about bot development?
You mean in real life or?
Yeah.
Uh,
Do you try to spread the word and preach?
no, not at all. Or not actively. I don't know. It's a niche thing, I guess. And then most of my friends are not into that scene, I think. And no, not really. It's my
Do you think
answer.
you need new friends?
Well, I like it when people are different. Makes life more interesting.
No. So yeah, and let's talk about your plans for your new bot. Anything? Did you plan out anything so far?
Yeah, so I have. Well, I can talk about it a bit. I have a structure ready, so I already have like a, how would you say, a skeleton of a bot. It can do some starting stuff. It can mine minerals. It can gather gas. It can expand. It can do. It's basically an eco bot. It doesn't do anything with. It will make some units, but it won't do anything with them. It won't attack. It just ecos up basically. Just it's like a Sims simulator. I don't know. It just builds whatever it wants and where it wants.
Did you pick a name for it yet?
It's probably just going to be called Yegers because I'm not really good with naming and not very original. But then I won't have to put like / Yegers after my Discord name, so people know who I am, like some people do on the Discord.
The man, the bot, the legend.
Yeah, and yeah, what I'm basically writing a map analysis library from scratch because BWEM doesn't fit my needs or doesn't fit how I look at map development. But I'm working on this, and I might just throw it away and use BWEM. But currently I'm looking into something I made myself. For combat sim, I'll probably use ASS from Bytekeeper because I used it once or twice just to work with it, and it fit my needs. So that's that. What can I tell about it? It plays all 3 races. Like when I say play, I mean it starts up. It does stuff with all 3 races.
Horrible stuff.
Yeah, well, I think Jay Scott, like he said about Kangaroo Bot, yeah, it has unusual builds.
They
And
never expected.
yeah, And because I don't know that much about the Broad War metagame, I mean, I'll figure it out while I'm working on it. But I think I'll stick to one race at the start. I haven't decided which one yet. It's probably going to be Terran or Zerg.
Bot versus bot and bot versus human metagame is vastly different. Well, not vastly, but very different, as we found out. I've always been preaching this. This is me saying I told you so. But having some SCHNAIL games and SCHNAIL stream, it made quite clear that bot versus bot plays are different meta entirely. Although we have a relatively small number of bots, so that also affects this a lot. So meta change will have more far-reaching consequences. So, alright, and how do you plan to structure your bots strategy layer? Like, do you want to use independent agents or some strategy manager, or what's the approach of coordinating your units?
Yeah. So basically, right now with what I already have, every unit is its own agent. So they take decisions for themselves. They get like instructions on what they do, but how they do it independently. I'm a bit inspired by how Purple Wave works, from what I read in the source code in that way.
We are all inspired by them. We're not special.
I know. But like I read, not a lot of his bot, but basically the modules is while working through the source code, I read a bit about it. So yeah, most of my units are their own agents, and they make decisions for themselves. No, they decide themselves how they execute the tasks that they get, and then I have a layer of, well, let's call them managers, or that are dedicated to certain tasks. For example, I have an economy manager, or how, I don't really have a name for it, but that sustains.
Assistant regional manager.
Yeah. So yeah, well, exactly that. And then I have some things that decides what should be built, what should, like, how are we going to in the near and further future. That's the part that doesn't really work well. It just builds stuff. And there's no real reason to it, but I'll find out how to do that.
Dan just says that his approach to micro is inspired by Iron and TS Simo. Yeah, we all stand on shoulders of giants.
Yeah. So, well, there you go. Then it comes from Iron and TS Simo. And what was I going to say?
I heard that phrase in a motivational video, so it might be very wise.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, so basically right now I also have a squad manager, I'll call it like that. And this agent can generate squads, and these squads are their own agents. So we have agents that generate agents who control certain units, etc. And have missions to do. This is more talk about the future. This is all of this exists in like a skeleton way, but not in a actual implemented way, because this is like with units who need to attack. But a worker can join such a squad to do a task, for example, defend the base, or whatever. But how it's actually going to be, if this actually works also while writing the code, basically I have the plan in my head, but I guess everybody claims that, but then when you actually write it, it's always going to be a lot harder than what you think it will be. It's a big task.
Yeah, but brainstorming can help a lot, and you can rubber duck a lot of problems just by talking them through. That's my experience.
And I'm especially, I think for the start, I'm just going to, like most bots, play some aggressive builds, I don't know, some BBS or something like that. If I choose Terran, some proxying, or just to see if my approach with how you structure things works. I'm not gonna think out the whole system before and then see that it doesn't work.
This might sound silly, but let me explain. But what are your long term plans with your bot? Do you want to be like competitive on SCHNAIL, or do you want it to be a research project of sorts?
So I'd love to combine it with research. That would be really cool. But I don't necessarily need to have it that way. That it would be nice if it could. It's like when your work is also your hobby, then you're basically set in life, something like that. But no, that would be cool. But basically, it's for myself because I just like bots and botting, and well, I've had some experience with it before, StarCraft, etc. But I'm not going to dive into that. And I just like automating stuff, and this is like the ultimate challenge of automating something, because StarCraft is such a hard game to.
How is that saying that do what you love and you won't have to work a day in your life?
Exactly.
Yeah,
An inspirational quote, yeah.
Because no one is fucking hiring, so yeah. And you're playing Factorio.
Factorio. No.
Factorio is an awesome game. Let me say that. It is a good game.
Yeah, a lot of my friends who computer science students also love the game because
of really, course, it's it's coding, but you get to blow shit up.
Yeah.
So what's not to like? All right, I think I have. I asked all that came into my mind. Do you want to talk about anything else? Do you have like this is an exclusive interview, and this is all about you. And do you want to share something, or dispense nuggets of wisdom for the audience, or closing thoughts, or I mean. We have time. We don't have to close right now. I'm just kind of out of questions at this point.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the audience has some questions about me or what I do. If not, I mean, I'll let them write down if they have something. I'll be happy to answer. If not,
do you plan to play actual StarCraft in the future?
Well, probably not, because I have the APM of a disabled seal.
I use the term hibernating seal.
Yeah, well, I'm really, really bad at games where you need to change your screen a lot. So I'm basically a disgrace for a gamer. But no, I love to play more. I like strategy games, but StarCraft is too fast, I guess. Maybe I'm just an old man.
You're like 10 years younger than me.
Yeah, but I know. I don't plan to play I used to play Age of Empires, which I loved. But no, I don't think StarCraft is the game for me. I love writing code for it and writing a bots, and I find it fascinating to watch. I like also watching competitive StarCraft, but to play myself, no, not really.
Speaking of Age of Empires, I think you're aware of the Age of Empires 2 AI scene, right?
I know it exists, but that's it. That's about it. I don't know anything more about it.
Have you thought about joining it or doing some stuff in it?
Nah. StarCraft is more than enough.
It takes up all the time and more.
Yeah. And it's I want to focus on this at the moment. Yeah, currently the only game I play and I don't play that much anymore, is like TFT, like the League of Legends Auto Battler. Teamfight Tactics. I like it.
Anyway, too, you can only adjust builds and timings of attacks. I don't know if that's true or not.
So it's more like scripting some stuff. Okay. Yeah. So. I don't know if there's much more to talk.
All right, then I don't see the questions in the chat either. So thanks for doing the cast, and let's wrap this up.
Yeah.
I think I hope you will join another cast, if not in person.
I would be honored.
So see you next time.
Okay. Bye bye.